As somebody that's trained so many agents, is there one trait that is the thing that you look for? Is there that silver bullet of an agent that can make it?
Silver bullet is coachability. Really, anybody that comes into this building that applies their coaching, they get better.
All right, so for everybody that's new here, this is our little series that we're doing here at Elite Insurance Partners. The main purpose is what we want to do is just kind of bring you behind the scenes and let you get to know some of the people here that make Elite Insurance Partners run. I've got John on here today. You as the training manager, you bring on 20 to 30 agents at a time here at EIP. What does that process look like for us as an organization from the moment they start? Are they brand new, fresh like me? I had my license, but I didn't know anything about Medicare. Or are they experienced agents? Do we have a mix? And then how long does it take them to kind of get a feel for how Medicare works and then how to actually make a sale, how to help a client out?
It's a mix, Kurt. I mean, we have both seasoned Medicare folks and people that have never had any experience in Medicare, quite frankly, never had any experience in phone room sales. So we take everything from step one. We have a process here that we're very proud of. It's customer oriented. We've partnered with some other companies to help us with some of the language in it to make it a lot less sales intrusive and more problem solving. So we work really hard on that. And to your point, Medicare is a very heavily regulated industry. So we want to make sure that, all of our salespeople are doing the right thing. We have no tolerance for that otherwise. But, when it comes to, somebody coming in, really the biggest thing that helps for them is being coachable and being tied into our process, because that's going to get them there. Because really what it comes down to is people don't buy a Medicare product, they buy the person that they're talking to. So we want to make sure that whatever they do, that they're staying with the process. So if we have somebody that's never been in sales, sometimes it's easier for us to teach them the process depending on how coachable they are. Then we have other people who have maybe years of Medicare experience, but never really worked with a process. How difficult is it for them to form new habits? And that's kind of my training staff's job, is to help them form good habits. Because the one thing that we teach them from the day that they walk in the door is don't focus on the results. Focus on your habits. Focus on forming good habits and good process. The process and the habits will give you the results. With us, it's for the first 3 weeks, we're working them on nothing but scripting, no matter how much experience they have, before we ever get them on the phones. And then once we get them on the phones, we do have 2 months with our life insurance agents and 3 months with our Medicare agents in what we call our nesting. So we want to give them every chance to get a good hold on what we do here, how we do it, and how they can be successful doing it.
Now, as a call center representative that's talking day in and day out, 6 hours a day on the phone for a lot of these guys on average, I think they're getting those reps and they can just become so much more proficient in such a short period of time. And they probably get that confidence and they learn a lot faster.
I guess the difference a lot is the training program is designed. They stair-step their goals. They're very little goals in the beginning. We just want them to learn the process. We pay them extra per hour to take some of the financial stress off. So we want to do that. We want to put them in an environment to where they're more concentrated on learning than they are earning at that point. As we go forward between call monitoring, coaching, group exercises, everything that we do here is designed to try to emulate the pressure of the phone and to allow them to start having success at rebuttaling, moving through the sales process. We have online scripting, which helps them out. So we want to make sure that not only can they read it, but that we want them to be able to orate it in a way that it doesn't sound like they're reading it. I have some pretty dynamic trainers here that really work with them on their tone, their pace. Statistically, it's out there. In the first 15 seconds of the call, the client will determine whether they want to continue the call. And that's not based on anything smart that you've said. It's based on how you sound, how fast you're talking. There's a lot to be said about that. So we spend a lot of time on just those basics and kind of stair-step them through over that 3 months, eventually building them up. Now, at the end of that 3 months, that's not the end of it. So then we correlate it on. They still have a supervisor. They still have coachings. They still have call recordings that we listen to. We're still trying to build them up to a place to where they're self-sufficient, they're earning, they're learning, and they're building a career that they can be proud of and changing their situation of why they came here. People change jobs for one reason. They're unhappy. They're not making enough money. 9 times out of 10, that's what we see. They want to have a better life for their family, for them. How do you do that? You got to put the work in up front, number one. And number two, the environment here in EIP, it gives them that opportunity to earn while they learn. It gives them the opportunity to see it. I've got plenty of success stories, but it takes time. And unfortunately, a lot of people start getting negative thoughts in their head. When they start getting negative thoughts in their head, it's hard to pull them out of those places.
Now, as somebody that's trained so many agents, is there one trait that is the thing that you look for to go, this guy is going to make it, or this gal is going to make it? Or are there multiple? Is there that silver bullet of an agent that can make it?
Silver bullet is coachability. Really, anybody that comes into this building that applies their coaching, they get better. Now, whether they end up going somewhere else or deciding that Medicare isn't the thing for them, they're better than they were when they came in. They continue to improve. Once they get to the point to where we have them, what I call a functioning agent, probably usually 3 months, 4 months in the job, then what they really want is they want to be a good listener and be able to communicate a conversation. If you're doing all the talking, you're not getting the sale. If you haven't figured out why you're talking to this person, what problem do they have? If somebody has gotten on the internet, placed their name, their phone number, their date of birth, their zip code into a website that has Medicare on it, they're obviously looking for something that they can't figure out. And we figure that out. If we can figure that out, we probably have a long-term client. If we can't, we probably get a closing objection. So it's really that simple, is be coachable. Listen to what the coaches are trying to tell you to do. It's easier said than done. If it was easy, we'd have 150 people here making tons of money, right? We have 150 people here in different levels of their career, but they're all moving forward.
You mentioned, have that conversation. We started off talking about scripts and how important that is, but an agent after 3 months probably is just now getting the hang of the script.
Correct.
And then that's when they can finally stay on script, but have that conversation, and they can focus on the tonality. They can actually truly listen. That's when you see agents take it to the next level.
Yes. Having to create that sales atmosphere on the phone is very difficult. It takes practice. It takes a lot of failure. You were mentioning a close earlier. We see folks in the beginning close at 8 or 9%. So what does that tell you? That tells you that 90% of the time it's not working. Think about the group of people, 65 to 100 we're talking about. How many of them are, number one, tech savvy? It's growing, but it's not. How many of those people through the years bought insurance from a brick and mortar place that their parents bought from, that their uncles bought from, that their grandparents bought from? You would walk in the office, they would talk to you about Little League and blah, 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 and who's catching bass in the lake or who's fishing or whatever they're doing, and they would just tell you what to buy. You've got to try to recreate those relationships over the phone. That's why I said it's so important, tone and pace. And having these scripts that we give you something intelligent to say to disarm them in the beginning, so you can get to the point that they tell you their dog's name. They get to the point that how long they lived in their house. You can get to the point that they can tell you about their life and how many kids and grandkids. Then you're winning. That's sales.
And as an agent, it's probably a more comfortable, more natural conversation. It makes the agent feel more comfortable to have that type of interpersonal connect. And so I would imagine that just helps you enjoy your job as an agent better, right? Because it's more natural.
But maybe 4 years ago, the whole approach was different. It was like, I'm in, we're having a conversation, and I'm going to keep on here until they either hang up or buy something. Today's market is ever evolving in the fact that there's becoming more and more options. You need to sound different than everybody else. You think about all the things that the internet has brought to us. It's brought a world of good, but also a world of bad. But in the sales window, you don't want to sound like everybody else. You want to be different. You don't want to sound like the person that they just talked to that, I'm going to make a joke here about, their car warranty. We don't want to sound like that. We don't want to have that dead space in the beginning. We don't want to sound like we're automated. We don't want to sound like we're reading. So in order to get somebody to the point to where they're really functioning at that, 6 months to a year.
Does that entail a lot of role play?
Oh, absolutely.
Do we do a lot of that in office? Do we do it face to face?
Yes, all the above. We use teams in the beginning in the nesting, in groups. We also do it in groups. If we have 20 people, we'll do 20 people in the round. When you're on a team, which is usually 11 to 15 people, your supervisor will role play with you, either intro objections, closing objections, fact finding in a rapid fire type sequence. We call it our warm-ups.
What's the one little difference that we do that I think this is common, but that makes sure everybody's paying attention and everybody's on point?
A rebuttal or a front load or anything like that could be anywhere from a sentence to 7 or 8 sentences. And, as a supervisor has full discretion to stop it after one sentence and have the person standing next to him pick up at sentence 2. We have discretion of where we stop it, where we start another one, where we interrupt them. And so we have this rapid fire type thing.
Just to kind of paint that picture, we've got 10 to 15 agents. They're all on a team. I'm the role player. I'm the client. And I'll be talking to agent A. And halfway through his rebuttal, you might go,
Agent F.
Agent F, you're up. And they got to just jump in.
And they got to jump right in. One of the things that was told to me when I was a youngster is that, at 4 o'clock in the morning, when all hell's breaking loose, is not the time to read your book and figure out where you're supposed to be. Okay, you're supposed to be part of the solution, not adding to the problem.
Now, the agents that you train, they deal with objections all the time. And we talk about overcoming those objections. What would you say as the trainer, as management side? We've got client objections. What are some of the agent objections that you maybe run into that you've had to overcome over the years? And I'm sure there's a couple that are repetitive, just like our sales rejections.
Like I said, people have habits. We're not taking anybody here that's got a clean slate between their ears. So, we've all had experiences. They've all had good experiences, bad experiences, good workplace things that they liked, bad things that they didn't like. They've got some good habits. They've got some bad habits. So, a lot of the things that we have is trying to help them adjust to our process because our process is not negotiable.
Now, we've had a big conversation here. We've covered a lot. We're coming to the end of our time. And what I always like to do at the end of these conversations is, I had a little list of questions that I prepared for you, but I can't cover everything. And I don't know, maybe there's something that I didn't bring up, or actually more than maybe just me not bringing up, but you hear, or you don't hear about enough that you think is important. Is there that one topic that just isn't getting covered enough in our industry, or something that you can think of that you think is important that would be helpful for other people out there, other trainers, team members, agents, that would be good for people to hear?
Yeah, I think a lot of times that we in the industry, we try to be smarter than we are. When you're talking to your clients, put it on their level. We talk a lot about, all of these regulations and co-pays and this and that and maximum out of pockets. Break it down to where they can understand it. If you're on a Medicare Advantage enrollment, you're on that call for an hour. There's a lot of things that are talked about. A lot of, caps, a lot of co-insurances, a lot of things that you've discussed. Make sure that you're just taking the time to explain that to them and how it would affect them. It's so important that they understand the effect on them, because most people, they're enrolling with something because somebody else recommended it, a friend, somebody at their bridge club. Hey, look, I've got this, blah, 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 Medicare Advantage, and it pays me money back, and my drugs are free and all of this. So their mindset is that they're leaving with no less. And then when you start going through the particulars, we make the mistake of becoming robotic about it. and not getting that, like I said, that personal type where you had the State Farm example that I gave you. They're in there talking about it, fishing and everything. Now, you can't talk about it while you're in the app, right? But while you're in the app, it's important to know that if they're silent on the other end of the phone and you're the only one talking, they're lost.
Yeah, it's funny. I hadn't thought about this in a while because I haven't really been doing, personal sales in some time. But when I first started, somebody very influential in my career I was having a conversation with him, and I was using, I was just using kind of obscure words. And he's like, are you trying to prove to me you're smart? There's no need for that. I need to understand it in the simplest way possible. And that's the way your clients are. Then you really, you've got to meet them where they're at. It's not, we're not trying to prove that we've got the largest vocabulary and what our SAT score was high. That doesn't matter. Ultimately, what matters is, does the person that you're talking to understand the product that you're selling them and why it fits their needs? Why you, as the professional, have come to I actually think this person's going to be best served with a Medicare supplement plan, or I think this person would fit well with a Medicare HMO plan in their area, and this is why. And don't use a bunch of acronyms. That's one of the biggest complaints I have in this industry is we've got AEP, SEP, all sorts of different EPs and acronyms out there, and the clients don't know what those things mean. They don't really know where Alpha is.
The agents, you've been here 6 months, and I still have to help you out with a lot of this stuff, right? What makes you think somebody who has zero, they're not licensed, they haven't been through the training process that we have here, they can't follow you? Don't try to outsmart them. We find that 90% of the people who think they know what they want, when it's really truly explained to them in their own layman terms, start to question it. So sometimes it doesn't do us any good if you just say, okay, let's go ahead and enroll you in that. But I believe in doing the right thing for the client. It shines across the company. The attitude that the company has about our clients, and about, quite frankly, about our agents and our employees. We want to make sure that we're doing the right thing for them, putting them in a position to win.
Those agents want to go home at the end of the day feeling like they did good.
Absolutely, and knowing that they did good.
Yes, that's key. Well, John, this was great. We went over a few minutes on our time.
I enjoyed it.
I did too, and we'll have conversations down the road. We're going to continue to expand upon this series and bring more people in. I've talked with Jeremy in our advertising department. Talking to you now, I'm eventually going to be speaking with some of our agents, some of our supervisors. We're gonna just kind of bring it all together and let everybody kind of see all the different levels of where an agency like EIP succeeds, some of the things that we've had to learn over the years, and maybe help people skip some of those steps and become successful.
It's still learning.
It's never done. It's never done.
It's never done, man. It's one thing that I this to finish is, commit to your process, commit to improving yourself every day. Attitude and effort is everything. We have electronic doors here, I preach to my supervisors, when you beep in the morning, you've got to be that person that leads. You've got to be that person, and if you're not, I need 100% of whatever you have for that day. So I think we all just keep that in mind, and every day try to sharpen our pencil and be a better person. Everything else will work out.
It's so true. It sounds cliche, but it's true.
It does, but it's not.
Yeah, it is.
At the end of the day, it is cliche, but it's not.
Hey, John, this was great. I thank you again, and thanks for coming on here and sharing everything.
Have a blessed weekend.
You as well.